No, it was a movie that was made in Moundsville.
Fool's Parade.
Fool's Parade.
Movie made in Moundsville.
Okay. This is what he said. He's describing this area. And he's talking about people like my family. It was, of course, the money of Wheeling's old German and Anglo-Saxon families which built the factories. But it was the hands and the backs, the blood and the marrow of the men with the barbaric, unpronounceable names, the Serb names and Czech names, Polish names, Hungarian names, who shoveled the valley full of iron, then gave it their spirit to make it steel. I remember at nights the flame that hurtled skyward from the now cold furnaces of Wheeling's Benwood plant. I had heard of hell in camp meetings in Moundsville, and I was child certain that here in Benwood was the devil's own mouth, his flame breath blistering the placid night sky and lighting the tenement windows for 1,000 praying acres around. Here in this valley dwell the peoples of lasting metal, whose steel is the alloy of 100 cultures and tribes of a vanished Europe. Serb, Croat, Greek, Slovene, Czech, Slovak, Montenegrin, Ukrainian, Turk, Spaniard, Old Russian, Hungarian, German, Austrian, Pole. Their singing voices lilt and ring in a myriad babble on the bus to Benwood. Their words made music, frail as eggshell, speech as sweet as Bartok folk songs from the Arab Bohemian plain. I still think it's 50 years, best description. It was probably in one of Davis Grubb's sober moments, which he did not have very many of. But that's what made this area different. You know, when I taught at West Liberty and I would read the roll, students would say, "You can pronounce most of our names." I said, "Because your names aren't unusual to me. I grew up with names like that. All of my friends were Itches and Skis and so on. Because we were the people of lasting metal. The people who worked in the mills, who worked in the mines, who came here to do the grub labor that other people wouldn't. Why is it so hard for us to realize then that 100 years later, that labor is being done by another set of immigrants whose names happen to end in, you know, things like Gonzalez or Garcia? Partly it's, oh, that's my America is changing. Your America has been constantly changing. It's never been the same place. And it's not going to be the same place. By the middle of the century, long after almost everybody in this room will be, you know, wearing a hat of grass, the Caucasian population of the United States will probably be a minority. And let me point out some things to you. President of the United States is part black. The new governor of Nevada is Hispanic. He's a Republican. The new Republican governor of New Mexico is Hispanic. The new senator from Florida is Cuban. The present governor of Louisiana is Indian background. India from the subcontinent. The new governor of South Carolina is also Indian. The governor of Massachusetts is African American. Yes, it's a completely different environment.
Dr. Javersak, the only thing with the immigrants that you hear the complaints are the illegals.
Yes, but see, there's the other thing too, is that there have always been illegal immigrants into the United States.
Well, I don't
Even in the 1990s, the early 1990s, one of the next to Mexicans, the next highest group of illegal immigrants were Irish.
Well, how did they get in here?
They came in on the same way a lot of other people did. They came in on visiting visas, and just stay. Remember, in our lifetime, when I started school in Edgewood, in Weirton, 1951, there were 150 million Americans. There are now 310 million Americans. I mean, the population has doubled in our lifetime. And it's always, how do you keep track? How many people have we missed in the census? There are millions of people, because there are some areas that we don't want to go into. There was a census worker who was hanged in Kentucky, in eastern Kentucky, late last year. Because he was a representative of the government. You know, there was a wonderful book that came out in 1912, I think it was. The book was called The Promised Land. And the woman's name was Mary Antin, A-N-T-I-N, and this is what she wrote. The boundaries burst. The arch of heaven soared. 1,000,000 suns shone out for every star. The winds rushed in from outer space, roaring in my ear, America, America. Well, my grandfather left a farm outside of Zagreb, Croatia in 1902, walked to Hamburg, Germany, got on a boat, came over to the United States. I haven't found a record yet where he came in. Now I'm thinking, no, it was illegal alien. You know, how did he pass? I said, how did you get past the inspectors? Was that a problem? He said, oh no. He said, that was easy. He said, I was in the line and the doctor was Croatian. And he said, we spoke in Croatian. He said, I got in on the 24th of December 1902, and the next day I was in a little town just south of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Now, years later, when my grandfather was in his 80s, family said, Granddad, we'll send you back to Croatia. Still have family there. He's had a sister who's still living. I don't want to go. Why would I want to go? I left there when I was a teenager. I'm not going back. Now, did he know English that well? No. Did he get a Croatian newspaper out of Pittsburgh? Yes. Did my grandmother speak English? Not very well. When I get in, Sunday too, David. Sit down. Okay? My grandmother couldn't write. I didn't know that until earlier this year when we were looking at the documents to the family farm, and right there it was an X, and it said Magda Javersak's mark. You know, my grandmother's been dead for 52 years, and I find out now she couldn't write. At least she couldn't write in English. She probably couldn't write at all because she was a young woman when she came over. She probably came from a village in which they weren't going to educate young women. Why should she? She was just going to go work. And my grandmother worked hard. My first time Alice Harker said, well, your grandmother doesn't look very good. I said, how would you look if between your ages of 28 and 42 you had 12 pregnancies? She said, I knew your grandfather was a little wild. I said, yes, he was a little wild. But it was a tough life. I mean, these were immigrants who came in and they worked. Our family were coal miners, steel workers, farmers, auto workers in that first generation, second generation. My generation, we've been college professors, school principals, still a couple farmers. We had a great uncle who died in a coal mine accident in West Virginia. But if you ask all of those people, why did you come here? Because it was drawing me in. Now, why is it today